Hidden inside the forests, deserts, and mountain slopes of this ancient world are plants that have been quietly reversing male health decline for thousands of years, long before the modern world told men their best years were behind them. Today, we accept decline. We normalize fatigue. But thousands of years ago, healers, philosophers, and warriors turned to the living earth and found answers still growing in the soil today. The plants used by ancient Egyptian physicians, Himalayan monks, Chinese imperial doctors, and Norse herbalists were not myths. They were recorded systems of real-world observation. They were trusted by formidable civilizations, carried across continents by traders who risked their lives, and documented in manuscripts so precious entire libraries were built to protect them. Today, modern researchers are reopening those ancient books and finding the observations far more accurate than the modern world ever credited. In this video, we explore 10 plants studied by researchers for their potential to support male health at a foundational biological level. Stay until number 5. That plant was carried by Silk Road merchants in sealed containers no ordinary traveler was permitted to open. And number 9 was so embedded in a 3,000-year-old healing tradition that its name translates to the essence of life itself. If you believe the human body is more capable than the modern world tells us, hit subscribe. We go deep into forgotten wisdom every week. Here are 10 plants ancient civilizations trusted to protect and restore male health, and what modern science says about why they were right. 1. Saw Palmetto. The berry native warriors never went without in the coastal scrublands of the southeastern United States. Indigenous peoples, the Seminole, Timucua, and others, built an intimate relationship with a small, spiky leafed palm whose dark berries ripened each autumn. These berries were one of the most relied upon remedies for male health across the entire indigenous pharmacopoeia of the American South. Saw Palmetto, Serenoa repens, was documented almost immediately upon European contact, as Spanish explorers in the 1500s and 1600s saw it in consistent use. 19th century eclectic medicine physicians formally adopted it, and by the late 1800s it appeared in the United States pharmacopoeia, remarkable for a plant whose medical knowledge came entirely from indigenous understanding. Modern researchers identify its key compounds as fatty acids and phytosterols, particularly beta-cytosterol. These have been studied in relation to the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, which converts testosterone to another hormonal form, and androgen receptor pathways. Saw Palmetto has dozens of clinical studies across Europe and North America examining its potential effects on male hormonal and urological health. Indigenous healers understood through centuries of observation that this unpretentious palmberry did something measurable for the men in their communities. Saw Palmetto is widely available today in standardized lipid extract form, generally considered more bioavailable than dried berry powder. The next plant was worshipped in some of the most powerful ancient civilizations on Earth, and not without reason. 2. Panax Ginseng. The root 5,000 years could not forget for more than 5,000 years. In China, Korea, and Japan, this slow-growing root shaped like the human body was treated not merely as medicine, but as a symbol of life force itself. Emperors paid extraordinary sums for wild specimens. Armies were dispatched to protect harvesting grounds. The word Panax comes from the Greek for all healing. Ginseng appears in the Shenong Benkao Jing, the foundational text of traditional Chinese medicine, compiled approximately 2,000 years ago, placed in its highest category of medicinal plants. Korean traditional medicine classified it as a tonic so powerful it was divided into multiple grades, with the oldest wild roots commanding prices rivaling precious metals. The scientific world has studied Panax Ginseng more than almost any traditional botanical. Its primary bioactive compounds are saponins called ginsenosides, over 30 identified. Researchers have studied specific ginsenosides, particularly RG1 and RB1, for potential influence on hormonal signaling, nitric oxide regulation, and cellular energy. Multiple human clinical studies have explored ginseng's potential effects on energy, performance, and male reproductive health. It's important to distinguish Panax ginseng from American ginseng and Siberian ginseng, botanically distinct plants with different compound profiles. The root ancient emperors protected with armies is now on most health store shelves. What's coming next was buried in high mountain passes for centuries, and modern researchers call its results some of the most interesting in the field. 3. Rhodiola rosea. The Arctic root Vikings carried into battle A plant grows in cracks of stone on Arctic cliffs, in mountain passes where wind cuts like iron across Scandinavia, Siberia, and the Tibetan Plateau where winter lasts 8 months. 3 separate ancient civilizations, completely isolated from one another, each discovered it. Vikings used it. Siberian shamans knew it. Tibetan physicians recorded it. All looking at the same plant. Rhodiola rosea. The Greek physician Dioscorides mentioned it in the 1st century Say. Viking sagas describe warriors consuming preparations before long sea voyages and battles for sustained endurance and mental sharpness under brutal conditions. Soviet-era researchers conducted extensive secret investigations into rhodiola for military performance and elite athletes, research that remained classified for decades. Modern researchers identify rhodiola's primary compounds as rosavins, unique to this species, alongside saladroside and tyrosol. Rhodiola is classified as an adaptogen, studied for potential to help the body manage stress responses. Researchers have studied whether its compounds may influence cortisol regulation and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, with implications for testosterone-cortisol balance. Different cultures, different centuries, all circling the same plant. Look for preparations standardized to at least 3% rosavins and 1% saladroside. Coming up, a plant Silk Road merchants transported in sealed containers ordinary travelers were not allowed to open. 4. Sistanch. The desert phantom Chinese emperors sent armies to collect, imagine, a caravan moving through the Gobi Desert in the Tang Dynasty, 1,300 years ago. They stop only where guides locate a parasitic plant, pushing its flowering spike out of bare sand, no leaves, no green, drawing its life from host plant roots meters below. This is Sistanch. Sistanch holds a distinguished position in traditional Chinese medicine. Li Shizhen's monumental 16th century Ben Cao Gang Mu described it as a premier yang tonifying herb, associated with replenishing masculine vital energy. Tang and Song dynasty imperial records reserved it specifically for the royal court. Its rarity, only growing in specific desert environments, made it one of the most expensive medicinal substances in Chinese medical history. Modern researchers identify primary compounds as phenylethanoid glycosides, particularly echinacoside and actioside, alongside polysaccharides. Researchers have studied these in relation to testosterone-related signaling pathways, with animal and preliminary human studies exploring potential effects on luteinizing hormone and Leydig cell function, the cellular machinery involved in testosterone synthesis. A plant living as parasite in desert middle, with no leaves, surviving by extracting nutrients from other roots, has developed biochemistry unlike anything in ordinary conditions. Quality sourcing matters significantly, as active compound concentrations vary considerably between preparations. We're halfway through. Number 9 alone is worth staying for. 5. Black seed, what ancient physicians called a cure for everything except death. In ancient markets, from Cairo to Persia to India, there has sat for thousands of years a small, black, teardrop-shaped seed. It appears in Tutankhamun's tomb. It's referenced in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad as containing healing for every disease except death itself. This is Nigella sativa, black seed, black cumin, kalonji. Its documented history stretches back at least 3,000 years. Tutankhamun's tomb dates to approximately 1323 BCE. Dioscorides described it in De Materia Medica. Ibn Sina, Avicenna dedicated detailed passages in the canon of medicine. Ayurvedic, Persian, Greek, and Roman medicine all incorporated it. Few plants achieved this consistent documentation across so many independent civilizations simultaneously. Modern researchers identify its principal compound as thymoquinone, highest in cold-pressed seed oil, alongside thymohydroquinone and phenolic compounds. Of particular relevance to male health, researchers have studied black seed extract regarding antioxidative stress in the male reproductive system, with several human clinical trials exploring potential effects on testosterone levels and reproductive parameters. When every major ancient civilization independently documents the same seed with the same properties, that convergence of unconnected human experience demands serious modern attention. Cold-pressed black seed oil is generally considered the highest quality preparation. The next plant was used by ancient healers to feed entire armies. 6. Moringa. The miracle tree ancient armies carried into the desert A tree grows so quickly it reaches full height in a year. Its leaves contain more iron than spinach, more vitamin C than oranges, more potassium than bananas. Ancient Ayurvedic medicine classified it as a remedy against more than 300 conditions. Roman soldiers carried it on long campaigns. Egyptian healers prescribed it. In northern India and Pakistan, where it originates, communities have consumed every part, roots, bark, leaves, flowers, pods, seeds, for over 4,000 years. Moringa oleifera. Sanskrit texts describe it under the name shigru. Romans used its seed-pressed ben oil. Moringa oil was discovered in sealed containers inside Egyptian tombs, preserved over thousands of years. Modern researchers find bioactive compounds including isothiocyanates, particularly moringin, quercetin, chlorogenic acid, and a complete amino acid profile rare in the plant kingdom. Of interest to male health, zinc content, antioxidant compounds, and isothiocyanates studied in relation to cellular health and hormonal enzyme pathways. Studies have explored moringa's potential effects on oxidative stress in the male reproductive system, given that oxidative damage is considered a significant contributor to declining reproductive health in modern men. Sometimes the most powerful medicine is also the most ordinary food. Moringa leaf powder is widely available, added to smoothies, soups, or almost any food. Ahead, a plant so entwined with ancient spiritual traditions, some cultures refuse to eat it as food. Hack 7 pomegranate, the sacred fruit every ancient civilization worshipped no fruit, appears more consistently in sacred art, religious texts, and royal symbolism of the ancient world than the pomegranate. Carved into Egyptian temple walls. Featured in the Hebrew Bible in descriptions of Solomon's temple. Greek mythology built the Persephone story around its seeds. Persian and Zoroastrian traditions used it as a symbol of cosmic abundance. Across all these cultures, it was also a medicine prescribed specifically to older men experiencing diminishment of vital energy. Punica granatum originated from modern Iran through northern India, in continuous cultivation at least 5,000 years. Ayurvedic texts classified it as a tonic for male reproductive health and circulatory function. Egyptian medical papyri prescribed it. Avicenna described it in detail. Modern researchers identify extraordinary polyphenol concentration, particularly punicalagins and punicic acid, densest in the peel, alongside ellagic acid and anthocyanins. Researchers have focused on potential effects on nitric oxide bioavailability and arterial blood flow. Pomegranate polyphenols have been studied for antioxidant effects in tissues relevant to male reproductive function and hormonal health, with studies exploring associations with testosterone-related markers. The sacred and the medicinal were not separate categories in the ancient world. The extract form, standardized to punicalagins content, offers the most concentrated delivery. Juice from whole-pressed fruit, including peel extraction, is more bioactive than juice from arils alone. The remaining plants include one whose name means the essence of life itself. 8 pine bark extract, the ancient forest secret French soldiers discovered accidentally in winter 1534. French explorer Jacques Cartier and his crew were stranded near Quebec, trapped in ice, dying of scurvy. Local Iroquois people showed his dying men how to make a tea from bark and needles of local pine trees. Within days, his men recovered. The Iroquois had known for generations what took researchers 4 more centuries to understand. Pine bark use extends beyond Cartier. Traditional Chinese medicine documented pine bark for circulatory and vitality support. Hippocrates mentioned pine-derived preparations. European folk medicine across Germany, France, and Scandinavia carried long traditions. Modern researchers isolating compounds in maritime pine bark, Pinus pinaster, discovered oligomeric proanthocyanidins, catechins, and organic acids studied collectively as pycnogenol. This has become one of the most researched natural substances in cardiovascular research. Researchers have published studies examining potential influence on nitric oxide synthase activity, the enzymatic process underlying healthy blood flow, with clinical studies exploring effects on aspects of male reproductive and vascular health, with findings researchers describe as significant and replicable. The Iroquois healers didn't have the vocabulary of proanthocyanidins. They had something more valuable: knowledge accumulated through generations of observation. Standardized pine bark extract is available today, most commonly under the pycnogenol trademark. 2 plants remain, the most ancient, most revered, and most scientifically interesting. 9 Hishou Wu, the root ancient China, called the essence of life around 1200 years ago. A story circulated in Chinese medical literature about a man who discovered a vine-wrapped root, consumed it out of desperation, and returned to his village transformed. The root became one of the most celebrated tonic herbs in Chinese pharmacopoeia. He Shou Wu translates as the black-haired Mr. He, referencing the belief that consumption could restore youthful characteristics. It was classified as a premier Jing tonic for replenishing the most fundamental vital reserve. Polygonum multiflorum appears in Chinese pharmacopoeia dating to at least Song Dynasty, classified among the most powerful tonifying herbs associated with kidney Jing restoration, liver blood nourishment, and reversal of premature aging. Its preparation was a science itself. Raw root required specific processing with black bean broth, a method practiced for over 1,000 years. Modern researchers identify primary compounds as stilbene glycosides, particularly 2,3,5,4-tetrahydroxystilbene 2,O-glucoside, alongside emodin and antioxidant polyphenols. Researchers have studied these in relation to antioxidant protection, cellular longevity pathways, and traditionally described vitality effects. Important: modern research has identified potential hepatotoxicity concerns with improperly processed raw root, a risk the traditional preparation method was designed to address. Properly processed he shou wu, ji he shou wu, has a different compound profile and is the form used in traditional clinical practice. Preparation quality and sourcing matter enormously. Properly processed ji he shou wu is available through reputable traditional Chinese medicine suppliers. The 1,000-year processing tradition exists for good reason. One more plant remains, possibly the most universally ancient and surprising on this list. 10 wild oat straw, the forgotten grain medieval healers called the backbone of men a plant. So common, so embedded in everyday life, almost nobody thinks of it as medicine. Farmers have cultivated it for over 10,000 years, longer than wheat or barley. But before it became breakfast, medieval European herbalists, ancient Galenic physicians, and folk healers valued a specific preparation made from unripe, milky green stalks as one of the most potent nervine and hormonal tonics in their pharmacopoeia. Avena sativa, and the medicinal form is oat straw. Wild oat straw, harvested specifically in the milky stage before grain matures, appears in medieval European medicine consistently associated with male vitality, nervous system restoration, and recovery of depleted energy. The expression sowing your wild oats, still used today, is a direct linguistic echo of the belief that wild oats had a specific stimulating and restorative effect on male vitality. Modern researchers identify avenacosides, saponins unique to the Avena genus, alongside avenanthramides, iron, magnesium, zinc, and indole alkaloids. Researchers have proposed specific compounds in oat straw extract may interact with sex hormone binding globulin, potentially influencing availability of free testosterone in the bloodstream. Avenanthramides have been studied for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. What makes oat straw uniquely powerful is its very ordinariness. Not hiding in remote jungles or behind palace walls, growing in the most common landscape imaginable, overlooked precisely because of that commonness. Sometimes the most overlooked things are most worth paying attention to. That's 10 plants, 10 ancient stories, 10 civilizations that looked at the same challenge of male health decline and found answers in the living world around them. From thorny saw palmetto berries to the desert parasite Chinese emperors sent armies to collect, from black seeds buried with pharaohs to the common oat field that fed humanity for 10,000 years, the thread connecting all of them is the same. Ancient people paid close attention. They recorded what they observed. And what they recorded is now sitting on laboratory benches being confirmed, compound by compound. This list reveals not just that nature is powerful, but that our ancestors paid a quality of attention to the natural world that the modern world has largely stopped practicing. Reclaiming that attention is perhaps the most important health decision any of us can make. Now, which plant surprised you the most? The desert parasite emperors paid in gold? The Arctic root Vikings carried? The common oat straw 10,000 years made invisible? Drop your answer below. If someone in your life is on a health journey, a father, brother, friend, share this video today. This knowledge was meant to be shared. That's how it survived for thousands of years. Subscribe. Every week, we go deeper into forgotten intersections of ancient wisdom and modern science. Next time, a category of ancient practices researchers are calling one of the most overlooked areas in modern male health science. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.